Hello, it's February 2022, and I just want to briefly talk about something that's kind of implied with a lot of the things that I've been talking about over the years. And that's how the system is set up to condemn, to one degree or another, people who make mistakes in life, who err. And everyone errs, and yes, I'm no exception. I know this is shock for a lot of people. I hope you're sitting down and not operating any heavy machinery with this realization. Just, take a deep breath and get over it. But everyone errs. And I'm going to just use this as a light example. So, for example, when it comes to law in the Highway Traffic Act, you have, say, speeding. Now, I'm putting aside the fact that all speed limits everywhere are actually about, in Canada anyway, specifically Ontario, are 20 kilometers below what people would normally find comfortable driving through like line tests. And a lot of research has been done on this, and that's done deliberately. But setting that aside, sometimes you might just go a little bit over. Now, I'm not talking about people who are chronic speeders or people who are doubling the speed limit, okay? That's something completely different. I'm just talking about, you're going maybe 20 over, 30 over, and get a ticket, right? And it's almost kind of like cherry picking because it's up to the discretion of the officer if he's going to issue a ticket or not. Now, I'm not going to get into the tickets themselves or defenses or anything like that. I'm just trying to highlight a point here using this as a small example where people will make an error. Everyone errors. And so it's a way to generate revenue. Now, where we see the cash cow is with this thing called photo radar. And the idea is, I want to call it a theory, and a lot of people buy into this, that people will get the ticket in the mail and they'll be like, oh, better slow down next time, like a month and a half later. The problem is, it's not a deterrent. The concept behind speeding being dangerous is it's dangerous as you're speeding. So this photo radar thing is not stopping someone from, for example, performing an alleged dangerous act while it's happening. So it's just a cash grab. And a lot of the laws that are imposed, whether they be laws or even bylaws, for example, etc., it's just not only a way for control, but a cash grab. Everyone makes mistakes, and this is what the system relies on. And I just want to expand for a moment on Highway Traffic Act and speeding. If everyone was to, for example, plead not guilty, want their day in court for any highway traffic offense, the courts couldn't facilitate that, and cases would just be thrown out by the box load. But I digress. So everyone makes mistakes, and this is what the system relies on. Now, I'm putting aside, for example, crimes of, say, robbery, theft, rioting, rape, men and women both raping, and it's actually more common for women, but I've talked about this in other videos, to do these acts. Murder. Now, murder and manslaughter, we have a distinction where someone wants to kill someone, and it's wrong, absolutely wrong. Then we have an accidental. So we have different degrees of that. And society hasn't changed from, say, for example, the Roman days or whatever, where people just want vengeance. They want to, get some sort of revenge, especially when it involves a loved one. I'm not saying for or against that. Again, that's not the point. I'm just simply trying to highlight, there's social acts that are completely unacceptable in society and should be. So what's interesting is going back to these other offenses and everything else. So the people who are, whether it be law enforcement, the courts, judges, and I've explained judges are really just glorified lawyers, and the whole jail system and everything else, just relying on, you know, people being convicted, being on that conveyor belt of conviction, as I was told towards the end of my what was it, my last appeal. Now what's interesting is these people are very eager, willing, because they're just doing their job, right, to impose it on others. But when they have a taste of their own medicine, when they make a mistake or when they err, they don't like it. And then they get a taste of what they've been imposing on other people. There's a lot of people, for example, going to jail that shouldn't be in jail. And I'm putting aside most people who are convicted being innocent. But there's a lot of people being put in jail, for example, because of the whole feminist movement taking over family court. A lot of fathers are in jail because they literally can't afford to pay anything. Or they want to see their child and the courts are saying no, whatever. And so, you know, it's, I mean, that's a whole different topic in itself. But when these people, police officers being pulled over for drinking and driving, or judges being sentenced to jail, whatever, even lawyers, they don't like being on the receiving end of it. And because now they're getting a taste of people making a mistake. And I'm legitimately talking about just a legitimate mistake. Again, I'm not talking about people who are repeated offenders of, say, speeding or some sort of, you know, petty theft or something like that, or anything worse. But this is what the system is geared for. It's just people making a mistake, boom, cash grab usually. And even if there's no fine imposed, it's just going to jail, it's still being on the conveyor belt, because the whole system relies on, say, from the police officer doing his job, he's getting paid, going through the court systems, the courts are getting paid. And if people are incarcerated, whether it be on weekends or for whatever period of time, the jails and prisons are getting paid. And if they're not producing, or if they don't have the work, then their funding for the year could be cut. So they have to keep, you know, maintaining the quantity as a descriptive. And not only do they have to do that, but they want to increase it so they can get more funding the next year and show their numbers are greater, and they can justify on paper why they need more funding. And I've mentioned this before, where when you look at, for example, police, any police station, at least in North America, 80% of their annual funding goes towards pensions. The rest is for the active police officers. 80% of all that funding goes towards pensions. So they have to justify it. And there's more and more people retiring, and there's people still getting paid even when they're quote-unquote terminated, because usually they resign to avoid being terminated. And then you have union fees and everything else. So the whole system, that's what the whole system is based on. The common person making a mistake. And people will, you know, might make a mistake, again, going along with the narrative of speeding. You know, maybe every 3-4 years, oh, got another speeding ticket or a parking ticket or something. Made a mistake, boom. And really, everyone makes mistakes, even those imposing a lot of these laws and bylaws and so forth. Anyway, that's all I want to say. Just something to think about. Nothing really too in depth, but thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
This means you are going to be listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me all the time, when is it going to get easier? When you die.